and you are inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios hanging out with us where sports meets that thing called life, starting off your week right. And we appreciate you being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast. Thank you for hanging out with us where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Truly appreciate it. I'm truly thankful for your time here today and every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time as you're here with us on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt as well as on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and, of course, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Wake Up Call on Facebook as well, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/livenowdt. So, however you're tuning into the broadcast, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and we appreciate it. Inside these Cafe Kubal studios, you know Cafe Kubal has got your hot cup of your favorites, whatever it may be, from your coffees to your teas and your chais. You can get everything to warm yourself up this morning. After our little snowy, rainy, icy storm last night, you can warm yourself up at Cafe Kubal by going to any one of their locations, 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, both in Syracuse, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, where we will be live tomorrow with Rob Drummond, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location. So, however you can connect with them, we thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Jam-packed show, and as you can see in the title of this broadcast, we are fully Cuse'd out for today's broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, starting the show off in just a few minutes, in about 10 minutes, with Michael Lasker Jr. Michael Lasker Jr. joining us, an offensive and line alum for Syracuse as well as the NFL. He'll be joining us today to give his take on the current state of the Syracuse football program. He'll also be speaking with us on his thoughts on kind of what went on in his time at Syracuse, and he was there from 2013 to 2016. So he'll be talking with us about his time at Syracuse as well as what he thinks about where Syracuse is at right now. Life as an alum, how he feels like alumni relations are with Syracuse, just being a few years removed. College football in general, college football playoff expansion, as well as the NFL. So plenty coming up here with Michael Lasker Jr. in just a little bit here in less than 10 minutes. So happy to have him starting off the week for us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And then we'll jump into our video Q&As that I had the opportunity to do following Syracuse's loss over the weekend to Florida State. You'll hear what Jim Boeheim had to say to me when I spoke with him about Joe Girard III, who led the entire floor on both sides, Florida State and Syracuse, in the first half. He was the only player on either team to score in double figures in the first half of Syracuse's game against Florida State over the weekend. He scores in double figures, gets 11 to match his jersey, but then he does not score the entire second half. So he leads everybody in the first half, scores nothing in the second half. So I spoke with Jim Boeheim about that, about Joe Girard, and we also speak about Symir Torrance and how he thought Symir was in this matchup where Symir got to play expanded minutes and the majority of the second half. So we'll speak with him about Symir Torrance, and then we'll also have the conversation with Cole Swider about Symir Torrance and what he thinks about what Symir did in this game. So plenty coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, including conversation on Joe Girard and Symir Torrance with these gentlemen, Jim Boeheim as well as Cole Swider. And then we'll round out today's show featuring Tony Red Bruin, who will be joining us to give his thoughts on the current state of Syracuse basketball, his time at Syracuse, and where to go from here. So what he's been seeing on the floor for the Orange, that'll all be coming up where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So a lot of great stuff in a Cuse'd out episode of Wake Up Call. I want to implore you, while we have a minute or two here, to head to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And make sure that when you go there, you subscribe. Click that subscribe button. It's easy. It's simple. We have so many videos up there for you. I put a bunch of stuff up from the regular season finale for the Jacksonville Jaguars and my coverage of them, as well as my interviews with Nick Saban, with Alabama, with Georgia, with Cincinnati, and Luke Fickell and Desmond Ridder. So much is up there. All of these shows automatically go up there after they go live on YouTube, so you don't want to miss a moment of anything. And we have a fantastic special with Kathy Braun that we're going to be editing up and airing that, so you could see that directly. It's up there right now, and you could check it out, but I'm going to put it up by itself in a special spotlight piece for Dolphin Dive, and you don't want to miss that. Lemoyne Dolphins exclusive first interview with Kathy Braun since becoming their women's soccer head coach. You don't want to miss a moment of that, so that'll be coming up for you. Very excited to be able to share that with you here this morning. So thank you for everybody that's supported the show and everyone that's been there for us throughout the years. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's always appreciated. So big thanks to you for that. We had an awesome weekend of the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend playoffs with 7 teams now instead of 6 in action, so only the top team gets to take a break. And so we got to see teams 2 through 7 for the most part. We still have one more game tonight, and there's a Monday night football game, which I believe our longtime listener and friend of the show, Greg Eckert, he had sent over to us that this was the first time, I think since 1988, that there's been a playoff game on a Monday night in the NFL. So kind of cool to see that, and excited for what's to come in the NFL game tonight. Arguably could be the best one of the entire week of games here in Super Wildcard Weekend. So could be the best one that we're going to see, and we've seen some good ones. So unfortunately, some of my picks did not happen, did not materialize. I'm surprised. See, here's the thing. The games that I chose that I thought would go a certain way that didn't, am I surprised? No. Definitely no on the Chiefs, where I know that I picked a big old underdog and picked the Steelers to continue on. I'm not surprised that the Chiefs took care of business. But the Chiefs have been up and down, so I thought that game could go either way because the Chiefs have not been exactly who we thought they would be. And then with the other game, the Cowboys, that's a game where the Cowboys, unfortunately, they underwhelm at the end of the regular season. That's what usually happens. This time they waited until the postseason to do it. And I think it's not surprising as much as it's unfortunate that the Cowboys don't seem to ever get over the hump. It seems to always be a consistent issue for the Cowboys to just get it done, to just find a way to win and to get into the playoffs, and then once you win, to stay into the playoffs. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating to see what the Cowboys have not done. Can't even say what they have done. It's what they haven't done, and where, what that looks like in the NFL right now. So it's tough. It's a really tough road to hoe if you're a Cowboys fan. This was a nostalgic game because they were playing the Niners, and that used to be a big thing back in the day. But, you look back on this, and the issue with the Cowboys game is not getting a playoff, and that comes down to, that's error, and having that error is not something that you want to, that's not what you want. You want to be able to take a shot. Okay, maybe it doesn't happen, maybe it doesn't work out, but ultimately, when you get to where you're going to, and you're the Dallas Cowboys or any team for that matter, you got to be able to get the ball down, and you got to be able to move forward. You know what I mean? So I think, we look at this very strange situation where the Cowboys ran up and tried to down the ball, and then the ref moved it and then down the ball there. And this, if you go back and you look at it, and I'm going to be taking a look at it here obviously throughout the week, and Mike McCarthy said shouldn't have had problem getting the ball spotted. So we go back and look at this, 23-17 ending for the Cowboys in the wild card against the Niners. Now, looking at where we were here, the Cowboys were trying to get the ball down the field, obviously, get the ball down. There was a keeper by Dak Prescott with 14 seconds left and no timeouts. We saw Prescott run for 17 yards on a quarterback draw, but the ball wasn't spotted quickly enough for Dallas to spike it before time expired. So that would have been a final throw to the end zone. Now, Coach Mike McCarthy thought there would be a review from New York, and both defended the final play call. Now, according to referee Alex Kemp, there were no mistakes on the part. He said, quote, the umpire spotted the ball correctly, end quote. So that was umpire Raymond George, who was trailing the play when Prescott took off and collided, and he took off, collided with the quarterback. Now, Prescott said he saw 4 seconds on the clock when he got behind his center, and he saw 2 seconds on the clock after colliding with George. Now, Kemp said, quote, he collided with the players as he was setting the ball because he was moving it to the proper spot, end quote. Mike McCarthy said, quote, the execution between us and the official spotting the ball obviously wasn't in tune. We shouldn't have had any problem getting the ball spotted there, end quote. Now, I've never, in all the time that I've watched football, in all my life, I've never seen that happen. I've never seen that happen. I have never seen an official, toward the end of the game, run up, hit the offensive line like a running back trying to get through the pile, and then move the ball from where they had. I've never seen that before. So it's crazy to see something like that. And Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, said he was shocked they didn't get a playoff here. And Mike McCarthy went on to say, do you want to be running a Hail Mary play from the 50-yard line, or do you want to run 5 verticals from the 25-yard line? So that's a decision. It's the right decision, end quote. So now, Dak Prescott said in retrospect he should have gotten down sooner. And he said, quote, when you've practiced it as much as we've done over and over again, you're not necessarily worried about it. You trust your training that you put into it. I mean the rest of it. You don't prepare for things like colliding with the umpire, but I guess we'll start having to, knowing the way this played out. You know, crazy to see this. And end quote on that. You know, now Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of San Francisco, said, quote, I thought it was over because I saw it live. I was very confident it was done. I was just nervous that sometimes when you're real confident, you think you see it right. Sometimes it changes, so you're never fully sure until they let you know. So Mike McCarthy thought they were going to put time on the clock there. Crazy way to finish, crazy way to end the game. You know, you have that exhilaration of having that big-time play from your quarterback to get down and to get you there within, you know, closer striking distance in the red zone, and just an awesome play by Dak Prescott, and then the game ends before you can see what happens. I mean, it's, and you're at home, you know, so obviously the fans have to feel that and have to endure that. Just a very strange way to end a game, knowing that it was, you thought, okay, I got one more shot, I got one more opportunity, we just had a big-time offensive play, here we go, if we get it, great, if we don't, we tried, and they didn't even get to try it. You know, a very underwhelming way to end it, wind out of the sails and wind out of the season, but one could argue if the Cowboys didn't put themselves in that position, they wouldn't have had to have that play at the end of the game. So, with that being said, it's unfortunate, but a wacky finish, a wild finish, mind you, in the wild card weekend. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we spin back around, we'll be here inside the Cafe Coupal studios with Mr. Michael Lasker Jr., who will be joining us to speak on Syracuse football, past, present, and future, right here where sports meets life. Like I said, from inside the Cafe Coupal studios, you're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student-athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. And starting off this week in a Cuse'd out special inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Starting off the broadcast here right now with Michael Lasker Jr., and then jumping into my video Q&As with Jim Boeheim and Cole Swider after their recent loss to Florida State at home, 76-71, and rounding out today's show with Tony Red Bruin. So plenty of Syracuse coming your way from right here in central and upstate New York, where it is frigid. It was icy, snowy, but apparently we didn't get it like Pennsylvania got it last night. So I hope everybody's out there being safe wherever you're living, and hopefully it only gets better from here and stays clear. So with that being said, we bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Michael Lasker Jr. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dan. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you and I were talking off the air. You said your Lakers are trash now. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. Thought it would be a lot better. Thought we'd probably be like a 1 or 2 seed, but we're definitely looking like we may not even make the play-in tournament this year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What would you attribute to that? Because LeBron James buys championships. So what happened with this one? Can he can he send it back? Can he bring it back to the manufacturer? What happened?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, he tweeted out something interesting yesterday, basically stating, I apologize. I promise things will get better. I'm thinking he's going to move like half of the team during the trade deadline, including Russell Westbrook. And hopefully he can make it up and get Buddy Hield.
Yeah, and it's been, I don't know, it's been such an interesting road for the NBA. I'm a Raptors fan from day zero, and, they were the only team last year that didn't get to play at home, so I felt like they were cheated out of a normal season. I feel like, how do you get comfortable when you're not only not playing at home and everybody else gets to play at home, but you're playing so far south in Tampa, you're thousands of miles away from your home in Toronto. So, my last year to me was like a nonsense year. And now, looking where things are at with Toronto, I'm in a place where I'm not feeling great. They're 21-19. They're a couple, I was a couple games above 500, but that's, if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in the playoffs, and that's what I care about. That's where I'm at. But I need my team to step it up. I need Jurassic Park to be a little bit louder.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. I mean, it's that's kind of where I'm looking at it from the Lakers' perspective too. I need them to step up, But yeah, I mean, and there's no fans in Toronto, right? That's a little bit of a weird dynamic still, right?
Yeah, Toronto has been in like a 2-year lockdown that feels like The Walking Dead. Like it's been, for the people that I've talked to up in the Toronto area, it has been extremely scarce what they got to do, what they're able to do, and it's, I don't know, to me, I think that for everything that we complain about here in America, we should be very happy we're not in Canada.
Yeah. I've heard some things, some horror stories up there.
Yeah. So Michael Lasker Jr. hanging out with us. Speaking of horror stories, let's talk Syracuse football. No, but your thoughts on where things have gone in the Dino Babers era. You obviously, were there as Coach Babers was getting his feet wet as the head coach of Syracuse. So in the initial part of it, he has been 4-8, 4-8, 10-3 with Schaefer's guys, 5-7, 1-10, 5-7, and now is heading into year number 7. What has been your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has just been just falling short every single year. With the exception that they went 1-10. I think they fell short like every single. I mean, including my senior year, every single time they fell short a couple of games. They just put them, in that frame where they're not bowl eligible. I do think the last recent seasons had a lot to just do with just the quarterback situation, the O-line situation, which has drastically improved, and I was definitely happy to see what they did this year. But I think they just definitely, looking forward, I know they have the transfer QB coming in. The O-line is solid. I mean, they look great. Sean Tucker, I mean, he's just amazing running back. So I think next year, there's, again, shouldn't be any more excuses. They should definitely be a bowl team. They got some new coaches on the offensive staff. So, but yeah, I mean, I think really my assessment of Coach Babers really just, I think he's a good coach. He's the right coach for the program. I think he just needs the right pieces around him, in a nutshell. That's pretty much how I feel.
So that coming here this morning from Michael Lasker, Jr., Syracuse Orange Football alum, 2013-16. You said that Dino Babers is the right coach for the program. Why?
I think why, because I think he knows how to lead young men, and and I think it's a little bit tougher just by some of the generation's a little bit different from when I was there to when I'm here now. There's a lot of different things that you're going against as far as the NIL and, the transfer portal and so forth. But I think he's the right guy as far as a leadership perspective and how to, mentor and coach young men. I just think, ultimately putting some of the right football pieces and coaches around him, will definitely, I think that's why, and honestly, why he was given another chance, this upcoming season.
So, for you believing that he can, did you see something in him when he was coaching you? What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, for him, it was just, he talks about, having faith and, belief without evidence and so forth. And, for me, that I really kind of, it stuck with me. It was obviously, different philosophy and different, whole different playbook and so forth from when Coach Schaefer was there. But, for me, it was really just him believing in his players and being brutally honest with his players and, finding pieces or putting the players in successful situations. I do think over the last couple of seasons that was missing, that aggressiveness, that, going all forward, not being timid. I definitely think that was missing the last few seasons. And again, it could have been from the QB situation, the experience and so forth. But I really I felt like he was the right person at the time. When I was there, I saw that his willingness to believe in his team and, and fight for his guys. So.
And as we step forward here, you said his willingness to fight for his guys. Leadership wise, what was Dino like in the locker room? We've seen different videos, different moments, but on like a consistent basis, was he a rah-rah guy? Was he a speech guy? Was he a talk to you guys every game and try to pump you up at halftime and at the end of the game? Were there games where he didn't say much? Was he quiet? Like, what, besides a couple moments, who is Dino Babers in the locker room?
Yeah, no, he was pretty consistent, throughout the whole year. I mean, he's definitely a guy with, passion that truly cares. Even, from the first day of spring ball to the last day of fall camp, that's really who he was. Obviously it's a little bit more, over the top, when it comes to game days and so forth, when the moment intensifies more and so forth. But he was really, a good leader. That's who he was. He definitely could motivate a team in the right way, push the right buttons and so forth. He wasn't like a, swear in your face, curse guy, but, he did it in other ways, which I think kept everyone, kept everyone honest and motivated, to play for them. Play for him. And I think, coming into, again, my senior year with a lot of, guys that were fifth-year seniors or fourth-year seniors, to buy into that, I think majority of that, group did buy in. And, we fought as hard as we could. We just, again, fell a couple of plays short, at least my senior year. I think that's kind of just been the story in his era.
Yeah, and a couple plays here and there. There were some double timeouts called, a timeout after a timeout. There was not going for it on 4th and 8 on the 42 of Rutgers, 41 of Rutgers. There was the not going for it on 4th and 1, not going for it on 4th and 2. You're an offensive guy. You're an offensive lineman. When you saw Dino call the team off the field on 4th and 8, when you're going up against a team, whoever it may be, this time being Rutgers, and him saying, he said to me, hey, 4th and 8 is 4th and long. It's more like 4th and 10. If it was shorter, I'd go for it. And then when he had the chance on 4th and 2 and 4th and 1, he didn't go for it. As an offensive player, when you saw Dino come off the field on 4th down in game tying or winning situations, including and especially 4th and 1, 4th and 2, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I'll admit, it was definitely disappointing. And I think I had either tweeted something or posted something about it saying I couldn't defend decision-making because I didn't understand it and I didn't get it. So, it was, as an offensive guy, it's definitely disappointing when you know that your defense is playing well. So, they could, bail you out if needed, but you may not get the ball again. So when you're in those situations, you definitely want to, have an opportunity to make something happen. Now, to play devil's advocate, I guess you can say, again, I don't think he truly felt comfortable with the quarterback situation this last year, and it kind of just contributed to the decision making. But again, you have Tucker, you had Garrett, and I would just roll the dice and just run the ball, personally, just run the ball and see what happens, especially on that 4th and 2. I wouldn't even leave it in, special teams, but hey, as often the guy, I was definitely disappointed, but I can see the reservation maybe in the back of his mind just because of the personnel situation.
That coming here this morning from Syracuse Orange and NFL alum Michael Lasker Jr. joining a wake-up call with Dan Tortora to start off our week totally Cuse'd out in this special broadcast here inside the Cafe Cubal Studios. Sean Tucker, obviously the man of every hour this season at Syracuse, he put out a very interesting quote at the end of the season, and he did not take it down. And that quote that he put out there was, and normally he'll put out, hey, this is how the game went, these are my stats, I think I did well, or I think I could do better. At the end of the last game of this season, he put out, we lost our last game, Pitt 31, Syracuse 14. I'm not pleased with the outcome of the game or the play calling. I wanted to do so much more, but I don't call the plays. Good luck to all the seniors moving on. Your thoughts on a collegiate football player, and in this case, Syracuse football player, telling the world, hey, publicly, I wanted to do more. The play calling didn't allow it. I don't call the plays, and I didn't agree with it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, it was, he didn't hold back, so to speak. And I think it's a lot different. Like I said, I mean, I couldn't imagine anything or any of our running backs or players tweeting that out, in the past, when I was there or even the last couple of years. But I think so much changed and players have more power. If a coach feels disrespected or, turned off by that, then they can just transfer. They know they can just transfer and leave without any penalty. But I mean, I think he was also, in a way, maybe putting the staff on notice, saying, hey, if we don't make some changes, I'm out of here. I can go take my talent somewhere else. But I mean, I definitely think it was a tweet that, it had a lot of power to it, I would say, because, he's a guy that, as a Cuse program, you can't afford to lose guys like that. That's what attracts other recruits, other offensive linemen, especially that, have an identity as a run blocker and so forth. But hey, I mean, he said what he said and he stood by it, and credit to him and power to him, because a lot of people wouldn't have said that. They would have just may have just transferred or something or deleted the tweet. So credit to him.
Yeah, and like you said, players have more power now. Do you think that Sean knows that he's got this coaching staff by the cojones, so to speak? Do you think he knows that he kind of, hey, if I leave, Dino, you got nothing to hang your hat on? I mean, do you think that he knows he has this power?
I would say he's really after this season, he's probably really starting to understand that, because I think last year he was like third or fourth on the depth chart or something like that. But I mean, especially with the season he has now, he's obviously, I mean, it's clear he's best player on the team, top player on the team. So, with that, you do have more power. It is what it is. It doesn't mean that he doesn't treat people the right way or anything like that. But you do know you have to accept the fact that you have more power. So, I mean, with him, tweeting out what he tweeted out, I definitely think he has some influence now on, what can happen as far as, some play calling wise and so forth. So, I think all in all, yeah, he does, hold some power, and to come into some decision making.
Yeah, and as we step forward and look at Sean Tucker, I had this feeling and this concern that Sean could look at Syracuse and say, hey, I've done everything I could do at this point here. Like, I've done more for them than they've done for me, in the sense of I just beat a 40-plus year record of single-season rushing yards. I'm now the all-time leading rusher in Syracuse history in a single season, above Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, Joe Morris, so on and so forth. They didn't get me. Being here at Syracuse didn't get me in the Heisman race. It didn't get me to running back of the year. It didn't get me to the college football playoff. It didn't get me to a bowl game of the 43 played. It didn't get me to a prominent New Year's Six bowl. So I was concerned with Sean Tucker thinking, hey, I've had essentially 2 freshman years because of COVID. So now I'm stepping into my sophomore year technically, and I've done a lot here, but what can they do for me to put me on the map? If he's thinking selfishly, he's not going to win a Heisman here. He's not going to be running back of the year here. He's not going to go to the college football playoff here. Did you think similar things and think like, okay, he's going to leave because they're not going to be able to give him more?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, for sure. When you look at a talent like that, you got to be real with yourself, as an alum and a fan and so forth, and just got to understand, hey, I mean, this guy might honestly leave if he doesn't feel like he can get anything out of it. Like I said, I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, he's a Heisman. He's at least be in the discussion in the Heisman race. I'm not saying he'll be the final three, but at least in the discussion. And for us not to go to a bowl game, for us to finish with the record we had, I can definitely thoughts. I'm like, man, he may leave, but I think he was willing to be patient and give it another year because with the transfer portal and how easy you can leave, if things are going south the first couple of games of next year, and his numbers are down or his numbers are still good and they're getting blown out or something like that, hey, he still might, essentially just, transfer and enter the portal. So, I definitely think in his mind, he has to look at himself. And at the end of the day, obviously, it's a team sport. It's a lot different, honestly, from when I was there to what it is now. But at the back of your mind, you do have to have some selfishness to it, and what's best for yourself and what's best for your family moving forward. And especially with him, he's going to be an NFL, prospect, running back. I mean, there are, coverage was already talking about it this year, stating that he has to at least stay for another year. So he definitely has to do what's best for himself. And I think he decided just to ultimately stay another year and just see what happens before, making any rash decisions and entering the transfer portal.
Well, and that's the thing is we get to see him at Syracuse for now, but I would imagine if they don't go to a bowl game, if they win one game, 3 games, 5 or less, I think if they have a losing record, he's gone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that coming here from Michael Lasker Jr. inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Take a break from football for a second. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There's a ton of quotes by Martin Luther King and what he stood for, what he wanted, and things that resonate today when it comes to social justice, when it comes to just chasing your dreams, when it comes to, shutting out the outside noise. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words do not only hold true to his mission, but it holds true to really helping us mentally, emotionally, spiritually stay focused and take care of ourselves. There's quotes you could put on your wall from MLK that can help you to truly stay strong in times of strife. Do you have a favorite quote, a favorite notion, a favorite something from Martin Luther King? And what are your thoughts as we're here celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Wake Up Call? Why do you believe that maybe his words ring true to today? What are your thoughts on Martin Luther King Jr. Day?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he's just a phenomenal, just an individual that really was just all about bringing everyone together. And it definitely, and that's what I'm all about, for myself, just having peace and bringing everyone together and everyone getting along. And, someone like him, definitely just to honor that, him on this day and just to take a step back and realize, what life was like, really not too long ago, if you really think about it, my parents were in that era, so, but yeah, I mean, there's so many quotes and, things to pick from and choose from, but I really think, MLK is just, a phenomenal, man, just, stood by what he stood by, made relentless, just so many sacrifices, to better others, around him and ultimately bring everyone together. I remember I had the opportunity to visit, the museum in Memphis, Tennessee with my parents and grandparents. And man, it was just an amazing experience, an emotional experience, actually seeing the hotel where he was, assassinated at. And it's just, man, it's a powerful day. And, he's a powerful person. And I definitely, am glad to have, America honoring this day, so.
Is there somebody that you feel today is carrying the torch?
I think, I don't necessarily know if there's anyone. I mean, I probably would have to just go back and look. But, I mean, I think right now there's a lot of different, philanthropists and so forth and, different type of leaders and organizations and so forth that are trying to do so. but I just don't think there will ever be another MLK. I definitely think he wrote out the path and gave everyone the notes and the guidance to do so. But I just don't know if there will be another one like him.
So Michael, as we continue on here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you talk about your parents and their opportunity to be around and to see this and to honor MLK, obviously raising you and whatnot. Your father passing and your memory of him, you've put things up of obviously honoring him, with that name on the back of your jersey, carrying his name. What can you say about what your father taught you and how you try to keep him present even though he's not physically here?
Yeah, man. No, he taught me everything. He means so much. He honestly, I became a father at a young age, and he honestly, the 19 years he was in my life, he prepared me, to where it was an easy transition. He's always supported me, and I really think that's why it kind of made me, the father who I am to my kids today. Just everything, all the lessons I learned. I'm always keeping his name, keeping his name alive, through me and so forth. And one of my sons, his middle name is Michael as well. And it's just I'm always honoring him in some way. Whether it's a screensaver on my phone, whether it's a tattoo and so forth, whether it's my wife. Unfortunately she didn't get to meet him, but just the stories that I share, with her and my kids. It's definitely something that she can put a face to and definitely envision it and see, how, some of the things that he, did to raise me and, and my bring up was definitely something that, translates to who I am today. I mean, I remember the last thing he said to me, the last text he said, when he wasn't, I didn't know he would tragically pass the way he did, but the last thing he texted me, when he was on the way to the hospital was, make sure you bring me some Syracuse gear or a T-shirt or something. And that was the last, and I remembered that, and I have that, and I put a jersey, a T-shirt in the casket on the day of the funeral. And that was something that I can definitely, it's tragic that he's gone, and I definitely miss him dearly, but I can definitely have some peace knowing that I fulfilled his last, wish that he wanted. So.
That I literally am sitting here and I got chills when you said that. That he said, last thing he said to you is, hey, make sure you bring me some Syracuse gear. And like you said, you went up to him, went up to the casket. Here, Dad, I did what you asked. I did what you promised. Having that symbolic moment, do you have other moments since then where you feel like you can look up and say, hey, Dad, you taught me that. I did what you asked. I did what I promised. Have you had other moments like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it, from football and the sports perspective, just like, finishing out my senior year, and so forth, obviously getting to the point of, he was there, for the first couple of years of me playing, at Syracuse. Only got to see a couple of games in person. I think the last game we saw in person was the Texas Bowl. But ultimately that, and then just graduating, honestly, getting my undergrad degree. The only reason why I really wanted to get my master's degree was just because he had a master's degree. So, I just wanted to, because we were very competitive. I always wanted to do everything he did. So I was always competing. That's really, truly the reason why I got my master's degree. But I can definitely, again, after I got that diploma in the mail, I looked up and I said, hey, I did it. I'm in the club with you. Same with my uncle who, passed away. He, a couple of years after he did, he had his master's degree as well. And, I can say all three of our, the Laskers, we have that degree and so forth. And then, finally just being a father, especially having my last daughter born last March, I kind of really just looked up and, just was like, yeah, man, I'm doing it for you. You taught me all this, I'm prepared. And then, of course, the career that I'm in now as far, after football, in the professional, world, I definitely can look to him and say, wow, I definitely see a lot of myself, and, from what he did bringing me up and what I do to, raise our kids and so forth. I can definitely see a lot of him in myself nowadays. And, my wife can too. And that's something that definitely, it's good to see and good to reflect on.
Yeah, and bring me into that, the world that you're in today, because everybody focuses on football, 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 what they do on the football field. What about life after football, the next chapter? The fact that, most football players in their 30s are moving on. When some people are like starting their lives, in their opinion, football players are finishing up, what they dreamt to do their whole life. So what does the next chapter look like? What are you up to, and what's life after football?
Yeah, so for me, I knew, I knew I wasn't going to be like a first round draft pick or anything like that. So I definitely had my opportunities, bounced around, played in the CFL and so forth. But I've always, I took the outside of the thing, the corporate world and, getting a job. I always went to every career fair and just tried to, soak everything in and sponge. But ultimately, it led me to a career path in human resources. So right now, I'm currently a talent acquisition specialist for a big global real estate company in Hines. And, I love what I'm doing. I've really, truly learned a lot of the experience I got from the football field. It translates directly to what I'm currently doing now. It's as far as the mindset, the professionalism, things Coach Babers taught me, things Coach Schaefer's taught me, things my parents taught me, my wife has taught me. It all directly helps me. And that's definitely something I really want to encourage, athletes to do is really, take the education part serious. I get everyone goes to school to play football. I did the same thing, but I also, in the back of my mind, I knew that it doesn't mean you're quitting football if you have a plan B or a plan C. And I remember the academic advisors at the time, Ollie and Bruce, they would tell me that all the time. And I would take those meetings with them very seriously because, I knew I didn't want to just, not have a plan, after playing football, especially in having a family. So I definitely, it was something I started, really relatively early. I think once I hit like 24, 25, that's really when football kind of really ended for me. But ever since then, I've been just grinding it out, and trying to move my way up in the human resources world. And, I definitely enjoy what I'm doing right now and looking to continue to grow in my professional career. But also, again, I do want to, maybe, I don't know what it is, if either start a program or do something like that, but just kind of advise, college athletes really to take things serious, as far as our educational perspective, and always realize, having a plan B or a plan C doesn't mean that you're quitting on your dreams. It's just being responsible, so essentially, that's where I'm at right now.
So you want to advise college football players on how to take your education seriously and to obviously have your plan B, have your life set ahead of you beyond football, and if football doesn't work out. So what would you say as an advisor in today's name, image, and likeness world and transfer portal, and that if you don't like the way things are, you could just jump and jump and jump and jump and not have to stay. You go to 4 schools in 4 years. What would you say to today's college football player when it comes to name, image, and likeness, as well as to the transfer portal?
Yeah, well, I'll definitely say, it's different. I don't have any problem with them, getting the money, so to speak. But I definitely would say having some stability and consistency, it starts right now is where you're going to learn it. Because once you get to the professional career path, and again, when you're young, you'll probably bounce around from job. But when you do that, once you're solidified, as a recruiter, that's like a red flag. That's the first thing we see is, okay, if this person's jumping around, what makes them think they're going to stay with our company? And, as in the college football, as the way it's set up now, I think as time goes on, coaches and programs are going to start looking at that. Okay, this person, you see it. There's people that transfer like 3 or 4 times, and it's all said and done before they graduate or finish playing, football. And to me, it's just, hey, you got to stick it out, obviously transferring once, that's fair. But once it gets to 2 to 3 times, like, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe I'm not doing something right. And I get it. The NIL, everyone wants to get their money and they're looking for the best deal and the best place to go to. And that's perfectly fine. That can definitely set you up, for the next step in your career, getting all the money you can. But I think having some stability, fighting through adversity, things out, is the best place to go. And, I'm not saying you have to find an academic school to go to. It doesn't really matter what school you go to. You can still get your education, do what you need to do, take care of that. But, again, just take it seriously. You don't take it for granted. I mean, there's so many people that I, have worked with in the past that are in financial debt, from school. We're lucky enough not to have that as scholarship athletes, really. So we have to take advantage of that and understand that, because there's jobs I've gotten just based off my degree, just having a master's degree. I may have been lacking experience, but they say that they see the degree and they see the potential. So I don't think education is solely lost when it comes to, moving on in the professional world from, football and so forth.
And you said, we get a free education. There's people in debt. We need to appreciate that. And, that's something that I think maybe goes unnoticed because it's in the background. How, like you said, you were competitive with your dad. So you wanted to not only get your degree, but you wanted to go beyond that, get your master's. How much does an education hold value to you? Because I think it's important for football players to hear today that someone who, fought in the NFL, played professionally elsewhere as well as the NFL, played at Syracuse, pushed themselves. Like, for you to do what you've done, I think it's important to kind of speak to that educational side of it. And I know we have a little bit here this morning, but like, if you were sitting somebody down that said, hey, listen, I'm going to make millions of dollars. I'm a 5-star recruit. I'm the number 1 wide receiver in the state of Florida. Everybody knows me. I'm going to be fine. If I play a couple of years, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to make a ton of money. What would you say to somebody saying, hey, I know I'm going to make millions of dollars. I know I got this. I know I got the hype. I don't need my education. I'm just going to go to class and do the bare minimum so that I'm eligible. What would you say to that kid?
Yeah, I would say you're looking at it all wrong, because again, just to take advantage of it. You're in school. You have to be at least as a football player, you got to be in school for 3 years. I got my undergrad in about 3.5 years just by when we have to be on campus in the summer, and take classes. So if you're doing what you're supposed to do, not failing classes, even if you get a D, it's not the best thing to do, but you'll still, pass and graduate and get the units that you need to for the credit. But I think, honestly, I would just sit them down and say, hey, look, having a degree in your back pocket, just to have it in your back pocket. I'm not even saying you have to have your master's degree, but just having your undergrad degree in your back pocket, it holds a lot of weight, when jobs and so forth, and when you're done playing football, because it's going to happen. When you're done playing football, they're going to see, that, okay, you played football here, you were in the NFL there, but you also have this degree. So it teaches you, responsibility. You don't have to coach them on all the soft skills and things like that. And that's what a lot of jobs really want to see, nowadays, because they don't necessarily have time to teach you how to be professional and teach you on some of the common sense things, as well as teach you on the actual skill, whether it's, accounting or engineering, et cetera, whatever it is. But I think, again, these athletes, they think nowadays that it's all about everyone's going to go to the NFL. They all think they're going to go to the NFL. You see it on Twitter. Every single player thinks they're going to go to the NFL, and that's just simply that's just the math, the statistics. It's just not going to happen. So there's really only 2 or 3 that'll really make it. Maybe in a class. When you think about it. So it's just really just having the conversations with them and just putting them and say, hey, if you take care of everything. Everything will take care of itself, essentially. If you do everything you can on the field, you don't have to necessarily make that many sacrifices off the field, and in the classroom. I'm not saying I was a perfect, A+ student. I didn't even necessarily love school, but I knew in the back of my mind it was important enough to where I can set myself up, for the future and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. And people got to understand, just because you don't make it to NFL, that doesn't mean you can't be financially set or financially, okay. A lot of guys that do make it to the NFL, and make money, they're broke in a couple of years because they don't know how to manage their money and have the right people in their corner. So having a normal job or a corporate job and so forth, yeah, it's going to be crappy probably starting off, but as you quickly grow up the chain, you can be very comfortable and depending on where you live in the world, you can be very comfortable, and that degree and so forth will definitely set you up, to where you want to be in life without, necessarily being in the NFL and making millions and millions of dollars and so forth. Because that's just not everybody. Everyone's not going to be, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, a Big Ben that's playing for all these years. Most people are going to have a shot, and only play a couple of years, bounce around, and that's what it is, But, I definitely think that taking that education serious is something, just to have in your back pocket. I mean, you're there, you're in college. I get it. Basketball's a little different because you can one and done and so forth. But as a football player where you have to be there for 3 years, take advantage of it and don't waste your time, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, how does it hurt you to get a free education and put yourself out there and set yourself up for your future? Yeah, it's more work. Yeah, it's something that not everybody has to do, right? I didn't have to go and get hit 300 times, in a game and then go to practice and then get up at 5 a.m. and run when I was a student. But at the same time, it's like you got to build yourself for the future, for the long haul, for the opportunities to come. And even if you had the money, let's say you use the money right, to fulfill yourself. If you're 31 years old and you're done playing football, what are you going to spend the next 60 years of your life staring at a television? I mean, you got to give something to society, and the value of community and being together. And so I really do appreciate the fact, Michael, that you took it upon yourself to do that. I'm happy your dad pushed you. I'm happy that you pushed back and demanded more out of yourself, and that you actually got something out of the education at Syracuse. Because we hear so many times when somebody says student athlete and people scoff and they go, student, yeah, okay, they don't go to class, they don't care. I think it's good to hear this morning that, like you said, hey, I might have not been the best student, but I showed up, I got my degree, and I pushed myself. I think that's great for people to hear that, because the common belief is that at the Division 1A FBS level, you guys don't care about school, and that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and again, using your resources while you're there. I mean, again, going to the career fairs, having your academic, again, when I was there, it was Bruce and Ollie, just partnering up with them and just soaking in, all the knowledge from them and telling me all the stories and how to, just build relationships with your professors and so forth. I mean, and LinkedIn, I mean, just some of the professors I, had in college, I'm good friends with them on LinkedIn. They wrote me, referral letters and so forth, to get into grad school, so it's all about building relationships and using all the resources you have, and taking advantage of these things while you're here. Because when you think about it, this is your experience, because a lot of times, when you come out, out of college, the normal person that's not a student athlete, they've done tons of internships and, different programs and so forth. So they can hit the ground running. So they have a step ahead of you, but you can still take care of all these resources and take care of everything and take advantage of it, from a football perspective, and do everything that you possibly can to set you up, for that next step in your life, which is what I did. And I definitely, find myself in a good situation because of it.
Yeah, and for you to be where you are today and to have value in that and to be proud of that. I know it's obviously different than football, but do you find an appreciation for what you do?
I do. I honestly do, because, it's, again, it's still competitive, and I like what I'm doing because, as a talent acquisition specialist, it's kind of like, in a sense, you're the GM, you look at it that way. You're the GM trying to find puzzle pieces for that hiring manager or that department. And in my case, I'm doing things across the country and then, international as well. So it's so many different people I'm working with. Back in Los Angeles, I pretty much, essentially staffed up a whole accounting department, and just, it's rewarding, hearing the hiring manager, in that group and region, give good feedback to yourself and then your supervisor, knowing that you found the right pieces, found everything that fits, around them. And, again, you kind of look at yourself like a GM, putting all the pieces together. So that's definitely it's gratifying and it's rewarding. And again, it matters how you look at it. You got to you can't look at it like, oh, I'm working a 9 to 5. This is the most miserable thing in my life. Yeah, and some of those 9 to 5s and 8 to 5, they can be horrible, they can be bad. But I think that's not the case if you truly find a passion in what you want to do, and that's truly what you're going to do. That's the hardest part after graduation, is truly finding out what you want to do. Because I didn't just bounce into HR. There was a couple other things like administrative type jobs, different industries that I had. But ultimately, it was HR that I found my passion in. And I truly love doing it every single morning. And I'm a competitive, about it. So, I try to make sure I can staff up things and find the best candidates without having to go through a staffing agency to assist me. I'll do it when I need to, but it's just the competitive spirit that I have, where I definitely want to be able to, meet the hiring needs, get the job, filled as soon as possible to ultimately, have a good hiring manager happy and a good department, put together as well.
That coming here from Michael Lasker, junior Syracuse Orange football alum on the offensive line, as well as professional alum, and now moving in to the next chapter of his career and being a father and being out there in this world and finding, that talent out there and acquiring that as we move forward. And like you said, being your own GM of sorts. Before I let you go in closing, Michael, as we talked about Syracuse and Dino and year 7 and Sean Tucker and where we're at, to take a look at the college football playoff and the college football playoff expansion, what are your thoughts on where college football is at with 43 bowl opportunities, meaning 86 of 130 teams go bowling every year, which is well over half? So your thoughts on 43 bowl games, as well as, do you think we should expand the college football playoff?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it expanded, at least to maybe 8 teams at least, because there was a couple of good teams. Like I would have loved to see A&M in there as well. Just trying to think off the top of my head what the top 8 looked like. But I definitely think it would have made it a little bit more competitive. Not that it wasn't, I think all in all, we all knew Georgia was the best team. But I definitely think kind of having like that Elite 8 type of feel for it would definitely be something that would, be beneficial. I know that some of the popular thing is, for players, opting out of bowl games and things like along those lines. But hey, everyone saw what happened to Jalen Smith, and I don't blame them for doing that. Would I personally do it too? I probably would, honestly, if I knew I was going to make $1 million and be a first or second round draft pick. I wouldn't probably play in, whatever bowl game it is, the SoFi Stadium bowl game or anything like that, So it is what it is, and I definitely think that expanding that to like an Elite 8 would definitely make things, a lot more competitive, towards the end as the season. And ultimately, it'll give a chance a team that, may have not even, cracked the top 4. It can give them a chance to, do some magic, at the end of the year or at the end of the tournament, kind of like what you see with a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament in basketball.
Yeah, I definitely am for the expansion of the college football playoff. I think there's a lot to be had with that, and I don't think that 4 is enough currently right now. So with that being said, from Michael Lasker Jr., Michael, final point here on college football, final takeaway from this year. Cincinnati broke the glass ceiling that I don't think should ever been there. We've seen realignment again rear its ugly head. It happened when you were coming into Syracuse around that time. It also has happened since then with Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC. The American Athletic losing UCF, Houston, and UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati, and then having to bring in more teams. Now they're going to have 14. The SEC will have 16. The ACC stays at 14. The AAC has 14. The Pac-12 has 12 still. The Big 10 is going back, the Big 12 is going back to 12. The Big 10 has 14. So what are your thoughts on realignment and maybe where college football's at?
Yeah, no, it's kind of, I think right now everyone's kind of just scrambling because, in the ACC, the longest time it was just Clemson, and Florida State were the 2 teams. In the SEC, it's just Alabama, Georgia. Now you're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. things can change, but I think everyone's just kind of like their own entity now. Like the NCAA doesn't really hold any power, so to speak, anymore. I mean, conferences are just, they're making the changes and then letting the NCAA know after the fact, saying, oh yeah, by the way, we're moving to this conference, I hope you're okay with it. So
Yeah.
I think, that's kind of what it's turning into. But I think ultimately they're just trying to make things, more competitive, and so forth. Throwing Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC. They're just trying to find ways to compete with the Alabamas and Georgias. And then, the other conferences, naturally they have to move just to kind of they're just bumping up, in a sense, like Houston and so forth, which they had a great season this year. And I work with a lot of UH alum, and yeah, they had a great season, by the way. But, I definitely think that it's going in the right direction. It's not what it was like, almost a decade ago when I was in college. So it's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some more shifts and everything to come within the next, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Are we going all the way from super conferences to 10 conferences back to super conferences is the big question. But with that being said, Michael Lasker Jr. spending some time with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Michael, for you, I appreciate you so very much, and for you celebrating your memory of your father and what your dad means to you, as well as talking about a bunch of different things this morning. It's always good to have you on the show, and I always appreciate it. And really, honestly, I feel like every time we talk, we don't even scratch the surface. So I look forward to having you back, and I'm so happy to have you here. And looking at the picture that I have up on the screen right now on YouTube and Facebook, you were a big old dude out there. Like, all I'm going to say is, I'm sure you were eating the pancakes and people were taking them. Like, I'm looking back at these pictures going, dang, Michael Lasker is bigger than I thought he was. You know what I mean? So, you were a scary man on that field. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely was heavier than I am now. That's all I'll say.
So with that being said, sir, I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you soon, and thank you for everything as always.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, it's a pleasure being on the show, and I hope we can do this soon sometime.
All right, man. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care. Talk to you soon.
See ya. That coming once again from Michael Lasker Jr. He was a big guy. You look at these linemen, and you forget sometimes, dang, somebody got to get hit by that man. So, it's insane. See, I like it because I'm friends with these people. I'm like, hey, if I need a bodyguard when you're done playing football, we're good on that. Yeah, I tell Rob Drummond all the time, I said, man, when I need it, we're going to make it happen. So I definitely appreciate it and thank Michael Lasker for all that he does. And, really, offensive lines don't get the credit they deserve. So always happy to have the linemen on the show as well as anybody here to celebrate them and celebrate their career. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, as promised, my video Q&As with Jim Boeheim and Cole Swider come to you next as we shift from the field to the court in this Cuse'd special of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, from inside of the Cafe Cubal studios.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cubal needs. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on Facebook Live on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, shared on facebook.com/livenowdt, and of course on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So, however you're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I thank you so much. And speaking of watching and listening, is now that opportunity for you to watch and listen to my conversations with Jim Boeheim and Cole Swider coming off of the Syracuse loss at home, 76-71 to Florida State. Syracuse went on a run to end the first half. I think it was a 10-2 run. Went on that run to take a 1-point lead at halftime. Then came out of there went on a run toward that, took the lead, did an awesome job to get the lead back at halftime, and then came out of the break, attacked, and then eventually just lost control. And so I had the opportunity to speak with Jim Boeheim as well as Cole Swider on a game that was close yet again for Syracuse, but a game that the team did not close out. So close but didn't close out. Jim Boeheim spoke to me on Joe Girard III when I asked him about Joe and just his overall take. Joe led both sides, Florida State and Syracuse, in the first half as the only player to score in double figures with 11, and then he scored absolutely nothing in the second half. This is what Jim Boeheim had to say about Joe Girard.
You could say about it, Joe Girard, 11 points in the first half and then scoreless in the second. Just what you took away from his overall play today.
Yeah, he just didn't seem to be in it. I'm not sure. You know, when they're pressuring like that, at the end of the first half, I said, we talked, and, you got to go by, and he did, and got to the basket. And then the second half, he had some opportunities, I thought, to get by. But, he just wasn't aggressive offensively. I didn't think.
Jim talked about the fact that Joe was not aggressive in the second half of the game. And I went on to speak with him about Symir Torrence, who I believe could be a true point guard for the team. He got ample minutes in this contest, and this is what he had to say about Symir.
And what he did in tonight's game. What has he been showing you in practice, and what can you say about his maturation process at this point?
Well, he helps us against pressure. He really does. It relieves some of the pressure from Joe and getting the ball up and getting defenses, getting some penetration. And I thought he was really good today, and he's been good in practices as well.
So Jim talking about Symir Torrence, saying that he was really good today. Good signs for Symir, hopefully for the future, that maybe he'll get some more opportunities out there. I think the team, listen, at 8-9, where the team is at right now, 2-4 in the ACC, it doesn't hurt them, in my opinion, to put Symir out there and to let him run the point and let him create some opportunities. I think, fans might be pleasantly surprised at what they'll see. I spoke with Cole Swider, forward on Syracuse, about his thoughts on Symir Torrence, as he's one of the guys that Symir will be looking for out there. This is what he had to say about how Symir played in that game against Florida State.
That's what you could say about the play of Symir Torrence and what he's done as far as bringing the ball up and trying to create offensively for you.
Yeah, Sy did a great job today. We needed to play that small line to kind of break that pressure that they were giving us. Obviously, we had problems dealing with pressure all year. Sy did a good job helping us just kind of break that press and get into our offense more smoothly. Obviously, that's something that has been hurting us all year. So I thought Sy played well. I thought he played well off the ball. I mean, not playing him as a shooter. So he has to do a good job moving without the ball and trying to get other people open. So I thought he did a good job, but obviously it was different not having Jimmy out there, me playing the floor and everything like that because of that. So something we got to get used to.
You know, and hearing that, like, it was different not having Jimmy out there. So trying to find the right group, right? Trying to find the right way to get this done. In my opinion, if you have Jesse out there, right, and Jesse's been tremendous this season when it comes in his maturation process from last year to this year. So you look at Jesse, arguably the best center Syracuse had in a long time. So you got Jesse out there, and this is how I view it, okay? I'm gonna write it all down here. I'm a pen and pad guy, right? So we say, okay, the starting five right now is Joe Girard, Buddy Boeheim, Cole Swider, right? Jimmy, and Jesse. So that's what it looks like right now. This is what I'll argue. So, what if you have Jesse stay there at center, Jimmy, who's the best fundamental player on the team, has got to be out there, Cole Swider. By the way, this is the starting five that I told you I thought Jim Boeheim would do. Just mind you, okay? Mind you. That's what I said back in the beginning. If Barama, I said if Barama was healthy, I thought Barama would be out there. But mind you, I said that Jesse should be starting. I said Jimmy probably will start because he's not going to start Benny Williams because Benny's a true freshman, and Jim more often than not does not put true freshmen out there like that in history. Even if basketball's changed, Jim doesn't typically put true freshmen out there. So Cole Swider, I said he would be out there as well, and Buddy, and I said I think Symir should be the point guard, but Joe Girard would be out there. So basically that starting five you've been seeing is something that I saw coming before the season started. Now, this is what I think, okay? Riddle me this. Now, Jesse stays at center. Jimmy starts at power forward. Cole starts at small forward. You keep Buddy in at shooting guard, and you have Symir in. You have Symir Torrance in, right? So you have Symir start at point because I think he's your true point guard. Now, I'm not trying to take away from Joe, but hit me on this. Now, here's the thing. This is the issue. Buddy is going to play 40 minutes. Buddy is not going to come out. Buddy is going to be there, right? Like it or not, good shooting day, bad shooting day. For the most part, Buddy's going to be out there for pretty much 40 minutes. Joe should be in that spot of shooting guard, but you're not going to take Buddy out of it. So do you move Buddy down to small forward? I shouldn't say down. Do you move him over to small forward and then have Symir and then have Joe, right? And then what do? Then you have to interchange Cole Swider and Jimmy in that situation and then keep Jesse there at center. So what that does is it affects Buddy moving over, but essentially Buddy's just trying to get open and get a shot, and then it puts Swider and Jimmy in a situation where they have to come in and out. But maybe you do. Maybe you have Joe come off the bench. You're not going to spell Buddy more often than not. So Joe would have to come in, which would shift Buddy and have to spell Cole or Jimmy. But if Jim wants to have Jimmy and Buddy out there all the time, and he wants Joe to be out there shooting, then it's going to put you in a situation where that's why we're not seeing Symir, because if he's not going to take Jimmy out, he's not going to take Buddy out, and he doesn't want to move Buddy out of shooting guard, and he's not going to put Joe where he should be, which is shooting guard, then that's putting you in a situation where you don't have space for Symir. However, you should have a true point guard out there. That's the conundrum. You need a true point guard, but you got two shooting guards. But obviously Buddy is playing better than Joe, so maybe you would have to go the smaller lineup then. And you'd have to, if you're going to keep Buddy in, then you have to keep Symir in like he did and have Symir and Joe play together. But I don't think Symir should be punished because it's hard to find a lineup. I think Symir is your point guard, Jesse is your center, and Buddy's going to stay out there. Jimmy's your best fundamental player. And Cole, hey, how about this? Cole and Joe have both had good and bad shooting nights. So how about you have Cole spell Joe, Joe spell Cole, and that's how you rotate it. Jimmy's been pretty consistent. Buddy's obviously doing Buddy's thing. When he scores 20 points at least, they're 6-2 this year. So Buddy's been, Buddy's done a lot of good things. He's not going to be on every single second, but Buddy's done good things. Jesse's done good things. Jimmy's done good things. They shouldn't be punished. So Joe and Cole, not that they should be punished, but those are the two guys that have been up and down the most. So why don't you spell them, and that's how you find a way to fit in Symir. Or you can just keep doing the definition of insanity and hoping that it works. So I think the best plan is your three best players, Buddy, Jimmy, and Jesse, got to be out there. And then with Cole and Joe, depending on how they're doing, you take one of them out when they're struggling, give them a break, give them a moment, and hit Symir, and get them in there. And, I mean, you should really have your true point guard out there all the time, but that's not going to happen in this rotation. But I'm just saying, Boeheim has an out to aid him. And it could help him out the most if you got a guy who's fundamentally sound, who could do well at the 2-3, who could do well in transition, do well in making sure the guys are getting the ball. And listen, you got to have your center and you got to have your ball deliverer, right? You got to have your commander out there. Joe is not a true point guard. So you want to have Joe out there, but Symir's your true point guard. So it would make sense and behoove you to put Symir out there, let him go, let him work, and then work in Joe and Cole as time goes. Then you got two electrifying shooters coming off the bench that teams may not be ready for that have fresh legs. I know you could argue me on it. People argue about anything these days, but hear me out. Could work. So, with that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. When we spin back around, we will have the opportunity to hear from Tony Red Bruin right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Cubal studios right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our
corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Tony here on the show this morning is going to not be able to make it because he has a scheduling conflict, and that's okay. So with that being said, we're going to continue the conversation, though, with Syracuse basketball and what's been going on with Syracuse basketball this season. So it's been a tough road to hoe for the Syracuse Orange men's basketball team, and I think that that's, putting it lightly. This has been a difficult season for Syracuse, been a tough season for Syracuse basketball fans as we take a look at the men's basketball side of things and see where Syracuse is truly at right now. They've been in a lot of close games, but they have not finished out these matchups. And as we look at it, Syracuse is 8-9, as I mentioned before, 2-4 in the ACC. They're 6-3 at home, 1-3 on neutral ground, and 1-3 on the road. So not taking care of anything away from the dome for the most part. They were able to defeat Lafayette and Drexel earlier this season. They lost to Colgate out of conference by 15 points in the dome, and then they lost to, in the battle for Atlantis, they lost to VCU, defeated Arizona State, and lost to Auburn. They've lost some games in a big way, like that Auburn game, losing by 21 points. And then we take a look at the fact that they won the double overtime game that I saw at the end of November at the Dome right after Thanksgiving. And then they defeated Florida State at Florida State and broke Florida State's 25-game home winning streak against ACC opponents. And then, obviously, Florida State returned the favor this time around. They lost to Villanova in the Jimmy V Classic at Madison Square Garden, where Syracuse has not played well. It is not, when you look at it, it's, there's no place like home is the truth. When, you see Dorothy or Jim Boeheim, put their feet together, those orange glistening shoes, because we take a look at it, there is no place like home. Syracuse has not been successful when we take a look at them at Madison Square Garden. Their home away from home has not been their home away from home. Their home has been here in the Dome, and that's been it for the Syracuse Orange. And so, sad to see it, but it is the truth that Madison Square Garden has not been a place where Syracuse has been that successful in recent history. Then they went on the road to Georgetown, lost that game close by 4, and then they defeated Brown after they had a pause, defeated Cornell, Jimmy Boeheim's old team. Then they lose to Virginia by 5. So look at these games here, okay? Let's take a look at some of these games that Syracuse has had. You lose to Georgetown by 4. You lose to Virginia by 5. You lose to Miami by 1. You lose to Wake Forest in overtime by 3. And you lose to Florida State by 5. Look at those games, right? You count that Florida State game, the Wake Forest game, the Miami game, the Virginia game, and the Georgetown game. That's 5 games. That takes Syracuse from where they are at 8-9, right? Those 5 games take a Syracuse team that's 8-9 right now. And if you were to change this up and take a look at the 8-9 Syracuse team and those 5 games that they have here, that could easily have changed their record to 13-4 right now. That's how different this team could look right now. 13-4 from where they stand at 8-9 with those 5 games that were within striking distance of a couple possessions. 4 points against Georgetown, 5 points against Virginia, 1 against Miami, 3 against Wake Forest, and 5 against Florida State. This team is close to being a 13-4 team. They're just not closing out games. They're not finishing games. And that is what a team that's poised for the tournament, poised to make a run, that's what teams do. They finish. And Syracuse has done not that. So it's been difficult to watch this season for Syracuse fans because they may be right there, but right there is not there. It's almost there, but it's not completely there. And as people will tell you, growing up as a kid, they say, what do they say? Almost doesn't count except for horseshoes and hand grenades and this, that, whatever. And there's songs out there about the notion that almost doesn't count. And that's reality. Almost doesn't count. And Syracuse is in a place where they've been kind of almost there, but not there. And at the end of the day, that's not going to turn into wins for you to be close. So, this has been a year where it's been almost, and almost isn't good enough. So 13-4 is where Syracuse could be. Where they stand right now is 8-9, and they're going to be at home for one more game before they head on the road for a minute. They'll be at home against Clemson this Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, January 18th. And then they'll be at Duke at noon on Saturday the 22nd. And they'll be at Pittsburgh on Tuesday the 25th to face off against Pittsburgh, who they just faced on a Tuesday. So exactly 2 weeks to the date, they'll be at Pittsburgh. And almost exactly 2 weeks, because they played Pitt at home and won 77-61 on January 11th at 7 p.m. They'll play them on the road in the Pete on January 25th at 8 p.m. And then they'll be back home against Wake Forest. And then they have 3 of 4 games on the road at NC State, home against Louisville, at BC, at Virginia Tech. And then they have 3 out of 4 at home. And they've had a bunch of things changed here to make sure that they get it all done and all in. So they got a homestand against Georgia Tech because that game had to get moved. And they'll be playing Duke and North Carolina back-to-back, one at home, one away, as they have Duke at home on Saturday, February 26th, and they'll be at North Carolina on February 28th. They'll end the season at home against Miami. So they do have 3 of 4 on the road to start off February, but then they'll play 4 of 6 at home after that. So in February 19th, February 21st, February 28th, March 5th, all at home for Syracuse. And so some big games coming up, some fun coming up, and due to a change in scheduling, some more home love coming up later on here in February and early March. So something to look forward to for the Syracuse Orange as they try to get back on the winning side of things. They've been toying with 500 back and forth, and they'll have to toy with it once again this Tuesday to see if they can get on the right side of things. To look at the ACC as a whole and where things stand currently right now, the Atlantic Coast Conference standings for men's basketball, as we take a look at where everything is at and take a look at where Clemson's at as we get set to see Syracuse host them. This is how the ACC currently looks. Georgia Tech is at the bottom and Miami's at the top. Miami's 5-1 in the ACC. Duke is behind them, then North Carolina, then Florida State, then Notre Dame, who I told you would not stay down forever. I know Mike Bray is not going to keep his team down. They're going to have moments where they have to rebuild a little bit. They had a ton of talent over a span of 2 or 3 years that was steadily moving forward and finishing up their eligibility. And so now they're back on the winning side of things. Then it's Wake, then Louisville, then Virginia, and those are all the winning teams in the ACC. And then after that, you have Boston College, Clemson, Syracuse, Pitt, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech with losing records in the ACC. So as we take a look at that now, Syracuse is currently 11th in the ACC. Clemson is 10th. And if Syracuse is able to defeat Clemson head-to-head, they're both 2-4 in the ACC. So Syracuse would jump Clemson and go to 10, and then they would be right there behind Boston College. So something to look forward to here as Syracuse still has to face Wake and Louisville, as well as North Carolina and Duke twice and Miami. So Syracuse could try to rise up this chart here, but a win this week against Clemson at home will get them in the top 10 of the ACC and outside of the bottom 5. So Syracuse needing that here, needing to get a victory, and we'll see what happens as they have the opportunity to do exactly that right here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So some high hopes to have this happen for Syracuse as they step forward. I'd love to take a look around the rest of central and upstate New York if you'd love to join me for that and take a look at where things are at. So we'll head off to, and before we take a look outside of Syracuse, I want to go to the women's side of things with Von Reed and company. Shout out to Evan Dortis, who is, Sean Belby, who's joining the fray for the women's basketball team. But as we look at women's basketball for this season, they are 8-8, so right there where men's basketball is at. Started off the season with a win over Monmouth, then a loss to Notre Dame in ACC play, a win over Morgan State, and then they went to the battle for Atlantis, lost all 3 games there against 2 Bulls and 1 Gopher, South Florida and Buffalo, and then defeating losing to Minnesota as well. They defeated Colgate, which Syracuse men's basketball did not do. Then they played the Big Ten Challenge and defeated number 18 and number 20 Ohio State, respectively, in the Dome, 97-91. Then they went on to play Central Connecticut State, blew them out, beat Cornell by 30, then defeated Clemson in ACC play. UMBC defeated them. Siena was postponed and lost to North Carolina, then lost to Boston College, lost to Duke, lost to Louisville. And then had Virginia postponed on the road. So Syracuse women's basketball went from a very nice 6-game winning streak, and after a 6-game winning streak has endured a 4-game losing streak. They will try to get back at it this 20th of January at home on Thursday, January 20th at 8 p.m. against Georgia Tech. They'll try to get to the winning side of things and get a win here in the ACC, where they are currently 1-5 in conference, so worse than men's basketball, who is currently 2-4 inside of the ACC. To take a look at the Dolphins side of things for Lemoyne College Dolphins, proud multimedia marketing partner is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. On the men's side of things, they're above 500 with a win over the weekend, and a big shout out to them. 7-6, winning this Saturday at home at Ted Grant Court against Southern New Hampshire for NE10 play. The team is 3-3 in the NE10 and 7-6 overall. The men's basketball team for Lemoyne will get back at it this Wednesday at home against St. Michael's College at Ted Grant Court this Wednesday, January 19th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, before they go on the road for a couple at St. Anselm and at Bentley. For the women's side of things, for the Lemoyne College Dolphins, and the first season where Mary Grimes is a head coach ever, and first time that she's a head coach at Lemoyne. They are 8-2 in her first time as the Lemoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach, having a fantastic start. 6-1 in NE10 play, and we take a look at where they are most recently here. They've had 2 games postponed. They had Franklin Pierce on the road and Southern New Hampshire postponed here, and they've already got a new date for Franklin Pierce. That's going to be on January 27th, and they've already set a new date for Southern New Hampshire, which will be on February 14th on Valentine's Day. Before these postponed games, the team went on a 4-game winning streak at American International, against Pace and Stonehill at home, and at Bentley. 4-game winning streak, all in conference play of the NE10. They'll look to try and get back at it coming up here for that doubleheader this Wednesday, January 19th, against St. Michael's College. Their game at 3:30 and the men at 5:30. So be great for you to come out this Wednesday, January 19th. You'll see our Wake Up Call banner on site at Ted Grant Court, right there on location, and you can enjoy some awesome basketball with the men's and women's team, both above 500, the men at 7-6, the women at 8-2, in conference play against St. Michael's in a doubleheader. Women's basketball for the Dolphins at 3:30, and the men's team to follow at approximately 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. An awesome doubleheader for your Wednesday this week. Taking a look at OCC basketball, and we'll head over to OCC and take a look at how things have been going for the Lasers and their season so far on the men's basketball side with Eric Cerrone and the crew. The Lasers for men's basketball here, as we take a look at it, have a current record of 12-1. They are 6-1 at home, 6-0 on the road. They've won 5 games in a row right now, which is fantastic. And so looking at their next game, they'll be on the road this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. in Canandaigua at Finger Lakes Community College. Their next home game will be January 22nd, this Saturday at 3 against Cayuga Community College. And they got a bunch of home games coming up here. Plenty of home matchups coming up in January and February. So definitely get yourself out to Allen Hall and see your OCC men's basketball team play. For the ladies' side of things, the Lasers for women's basketball at OCC are 9-2. Fantastic start to their season. And after Mike Wheeler decided to retire from there, we have Kelly Grinnell Sight there as the head women's basketball coach. Kelly doing a fantastic job in her first season as the head coach of the Lasers. 9-2 are the women's basketball team, and they have had a record of 3-2 at home. Also, like the men, 6-0 on the road, which is fantastic to know come playoff time. They've won 7 games in a row of their 9 that they have overall for wins. And their next game, they had a game postponed against Herkimer on January 12th. Their next game will be at Finger Lakes Community College in that doubleheader this Wednesday. And then they will go on to play Cayuga Community College in a doubleheader with the men on Saturday, January 22nd. That game is at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. To head over to Bryant and Stratton and see how they are doing with their athletic side of things. Very excited to speak on Bryant and Stratton here this morning. And Bryant and Stratton for their side of things here on their men's basketball side as well as their women's basketball. We'll take a look at both of those. We'll head to men's basketball first and take a look what Danny Frasina and the team are doing. On the men's basketball side, they are 7-4. They are 0-1 in conference play. They're 2-1 at home, 4-2 on the road, 1-1 on neutral ground. And so they will have their next game coming up this Saturday, January 22nd, against Villa Maria. And that game will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then they'll be on the road against Bryan and Stratton Rochester on the 26th of January at 7 p.m. Plenty of games coming up here in February as well for the men's side of things, who, like I said, are having a winning record of 7-4. On the women's side, with my guy Clay Sherman and company, to take a look at where they're at. They are 7-2 this year, 7-2 in their games. They are 1-1 at home, 6-1 on the road, and have not played a neutral game. They've currently won 2 games in a row. And so taking a look at them, Berkeley and SUNY Delhi, they've won both of those games. Berkeley at home, SUNY Delhi on the road. They will play Word of Life this Saturday, January 22nd at home at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and then they'll head on the road to play Bryan and Stratton of Rochester with the men's team on January 26th on a Wednesday. Plenty of games coming up at home with Villa Maria, Bryan and Stratton Rochester, Bryan and Stratton Albany, Paul Smith's College, and Fisher will all be coming to face off against Bryan and Stratton at home. Once again, both teams for the men's and women's side of things for basketball at Bryan and Stratton with winning records, so a big shout out to them. We take a look to SUNY Cortland now. I love doing this. We do this throughout the year where I take, little peek-ins to the season and let you know how things are going with the teams all around our community. So to take a look at SUNY Cortland's men's basketball, currently the men's basketball team for the Red Dragons are in a place where their current record is 7-6. They will have an opportunity to face off against Brockport this Tuesday, January 18th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And then they'll head up they'll be home against Oswego, the Oswego State Lakers, January 22nd on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Like I said, 7-6, 3-3 in conference play, and they've currently won 2 in a row, 1-1 at home, 5-5 on the road, 1-0 on neutral ground. We see these teams in Central and Upstate New York playing well on the road, so a shout out to them for that. For the women's basketball for the Red Dragons, they are 10-2 this season. Awesome play by them. 10-2, and they are 6-0 in conference. They've won 9 games in a row, 3-0 at home, 6-1 on the road, 1-1 on neutral ground. Their next game will be at Brockport in the doubleheader, and that game was moved from January 25th, and the time was changed, and then they'll be home against Oswego in that doubleheader in Cortland as well. So taking a look at Cortland, and then let's go to Ithaca and take a look at the Bombers here for Ithaca College and where Ithaca is currently at in their men's basketball season. They're 7-5 at Ithaca. They are 2-1 at home, 5-4 on the road. Another team with a good record on the road. They'll have RIT at home this Tuesday, January 18th at 7 p.m. And then they'll be at home for a bunch of games here. They got 4 games at home They got RIT, Skidmore, Union, and Rensselaer, who's ranked in the top 25, before they head on the road for 4 in a row on the road for Ithaca. So their men's team 7-5 currently for the Bombers. And we'll take a look at the women's side of things as well at Ithaca. And their current record is 10-3, 5-1 at home, 5-2 on the road, 10-3 overall. And they will have an opportunity at home against Skidmore this Friday, January 21st at 5:30 p.m. Then they have Union and St. John Fisher also at home. And they are currently riding a 5-game winning streak. So awesome play by Ithaca Athletics. And then we head to SUNY Oswego to talk about the Oswego State Lakers. My guy, Jason Leone, and what his team has been doing so far this season. We take a look at the Oswego State Lakers, who have a current record at home in overall in men's basketball that is 13-1. They are 7-0 in the SUNYAC conference play. They've won 10 in a row, 6-1 at home, 6-0 on the road, 1-0 on neutral ground. And we're going to see their next game is going to be coming up here, SUNY Geneseo, this Tuesday at the Max Zeal Gymnasium in Oswego at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then they'll head off to Cortland, like I said. And on the women's basketball side, for the Oswego State Lakers, we'll take a look at their schedule. And the women's basketball team is currently 3-9. They have yet to win a game in the SUNYAC. They've lost 6 in a row, 2-2 at home, 1-6 on the road, 0-1 on neutral ground. And the women's basketball team will be back at it against Geneseo this Wednesday at home in Oswego at Max Zeal Gymnasium at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, looking for their first win in the SUNYAC. And so that is where their team is currently at for women's basketball at Oswego, with Sean Pinkerton and the team trying to get on the winning side of things with a current record of 3-9. And so before we take our final step aside here, I want to head off to, well, there's a few schools I got to go to here. We're going to go to Binghamton University and the Bearcats. The Bearcats, to take a look at where they're at right now. The Binghamton Bearcats schedule currently has them 6-7, 3-3 at home, 3-4 on the road. Their next game that they will play is going to be against Stony Brook. That game is going to be at home in the America East Conference, and so they'll have them this Wednesday, January 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Binghamton University's men's basketball team, who's currently 6-7. The women's basketball team has a current record of 4-7, 4-3 at home, 0-3 on the road, and 0-1 on neutral ground. They will be playing their next game this Wednesday against Stony Brook in that doubleheader, January 19th, at home inside of the America East. And I want to go to Colgate, who defeated Syracuse in men's basketball this season. We take a look at the Colgate Red Raiders and where things are at. For them, Colgate currently has an overall record of 6-10. And like I said, defeating Syracuse on the road 100-85. 6-10, 4-1 at home, 2-9 on the road. And they'll have their next matchup coming up here. And that'll be on Wednesday, January 19th at Bucknell at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Then they'll be home against Lafayette on Saturday, January 22nd. For the Red Raiders, we'll take a look at the women's basketball side of things. And their women's basketball team has a current record at Colgate of 2-15. They've lost 10 in a row, 1-7 at home, 1-8 on the road. And their next game is going to be at home Wednesday, January 19th against Bucknell at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The final team we'll take a look at. And if we didn't hit your team, it wasn't on purpose here. If you want us to give you a little look into how your team has been doing this season inside of Central and Upstate New York, be happy to do that. There's other teams that I want to get to. I definitely want to get to Cazenovia here. Cornell is currently with a record overall on the men's side of 9-6. So doing some good things here at 9-6. Their Ivy League play is going to get rocking and rolling against, well, they started against Dartmouth here, got a win against Dartmouth. Their next game will be against Harvard, and that game will be at home this Saturday, January 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So be able to check them out. Cornell is currently 9-6, so shout out to the Cornell Big Red for that. And on the men's side of things, they take a look at the women's basketball, and they are 6-8, 3-4 on the road, 3-4 at home. And we will see the Cornell Big Red women's basketball team's next game will be in Ivy League play, and that game is going to be happening on January, let's see here. Actually, the game today was postponed, so they're going to play at Columbia on the road in New York City, January 20th, this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then taking a look at Cazenovia College for men's basketball. The Cazenovia College men's basketball team for the Wildcats, their Caz Nation is rocking and rolling here. Their basketball team, take a look at their basketball team right now and see where things are currently at for men's basketball in their schedule. They have a record of 5-9. They're 1-3 in their conference. They've won 2 in a row, 4-4 at home, 0-4 on the road, and they are 1-1 on neutral court. And the next game we have for the Cazenovia Wildcats team with my guy, Mr. Stern and company, their next game is going to be, let's take a look here. Their next game that they have here is going to be January 21st, and that game is going to be an NAC play, and that's against SUNY Cobleskill, January 21st, this Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So excited to see that. On the women's side of things for Cazenovia College, they're 1-13, 0-4 in conference, 0-5 at home, 1-8 on the road, and their next game for the women's basketball team is going to find them in competition coming up January 21st in the doubleheader at home in Cazenovia against SUNY Cobleskill this Friday, January 21st. So a lot of great stuff coming up and some really strong play from teams around the state of New York here in central and upstate New York. So shout out to all the teams that we got to give a shout out to Bryant and Stratton here in Syracuse, as well as Cazenovia College. Giving a shout out to Oswego, to OCC, to Lemoyne, to Syracuse, looking at basketball, to Colgate, to Cornell, to Ithaca, and as well as SUNY Cortland, and Binghamton. So a big shout out to all the schools that we got to speak about today. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe, and especially in the weather now, and taking this week easy. So with that being said, we'll take a step aside inside the Cafe Coupal Studios. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this fast break, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So very excited to bring you our final piece here, and we'll do that right after the fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Like I said, a big time shout out to all of the amazing schools in central and upstate New York. If we didn't mention your school's basketball team, it was not on purpose. So we send you our love and our well wishes as you step forward. And a big time shout out once again to Lemoyne, Syracuse, OCC, Bryan and Stratton, Cazenovia, Oswego, Colgate, Cornell, Ithaca, SUNY Cortland, and Binghamton. We'll be back right after this.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory factory available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market every Tuesday through Sunday, and you can enjoy all of their fantastic different pieces. I mean, listen, what you get at the Millhouse Market, you're not going to find anywhere else. I don't care if you've had a crepe somewhere, you've never had it like you've had it here. If you've had breakfast pizza somewhere, it's not like it tastes here. Rebecca has done an incredible job. Everything Rebecca Alford has done with the Millhouse Market is second to none. All of their food, their desserts, their breads, their quinoa bowls, their rice bowls, their salads, their brick oven pizzas, their sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. They are ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds. They are fantastic. I have so many favorites there. Everything that I've had, I've liked. There is no non-favorite. They're all favorites, and every time I think about them, I get really super hungry. So I suggest that you get set every Tuesday through Sunday to head out to the Millhouse Market by downloading their app. Do it today. It's Monday. They're closed today, so take a look at their app today. Download it on the Google Play or Apple App Store. Search through the menu. Get it all set and ready to go. You can get directions from wherever you are on the app to the Millhouse Market, and you'll be ready to go to their general store, their indoor dining, as well as their drive-through, drive-up window to grab your food and go. Contactless pay on the app, keeping us safe and making it very efficient. The Millhouse Market has done so much, especially through these last couple of years, to make things easy for us and to make sure that the local flavor is always getting to your doorstep. So thank you to the Millhouse Market for all that you do for our community and everything that you do, Pulaski and beyond. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. The Millhouse Market is absolutely, positively worth the drive every single time. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of today's show and for being here with us where sports meets life. We've had the opportunity to speak with Michael Lasker Jr. about Syracuse football, college football, and life after football, which was incredible, and caring about your education when you're a student athlete, as well as hearing from Jim Boeheim and Cole Swider following the loss close at home 76-71 to Florida State. And, of course, we got to take a look around the basketball world here in Central and Upstate New York, giving you an update on the men's and women's basketball teams at Lemoyne, Syracuse, OCC, Oswego, Cazenovia, Bryan and Stratton, Syracuse, Colgate, Cornell, Ithaca, SUNY Cortland, and Binghamton University. So, big shout out to all of those schools and to every school here in Central and Upstate New York. Like I said, if we didn't mention your team today, it wasn't on purpose. So make sure if you got a team you want to talk about, reach out to us. Be happy to do so. And a big shout out to all the coaches working tirelessly to not only win games, but to navigate through a pandemic. So much appreciation each and every single one of you. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, WakeUpCallDT.com, and of course, being shared on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, you can catch them in the archive by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. All you have to do is go to any one of these avenues and click and search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. That's literally all you have to do is go to any one of these avenues and search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and make sure you bookmark it, subscribe, and keep our show with you in your pocket wherever you go. Thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Progressive Dental, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, as well as Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Lemoyne Dolphins, Millhouse Market, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard, where we will have a special this week with the cross-country team of Syracuse, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and PB&J's Lunchbox. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also your proud multimedia marketing partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora says fins up every single day of the year. We appreciate you being here and supporting your Lemoyne Dolphins every Wednesday at 9 a.m. You can set it to the Dolphin time. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time is Dolphin time. Every first and third Wednesday is AD and DT, with new episodes airing with Athletics Director of Lemoyne, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, you get the Dolphin Dive, where we get to dive in to the stories of coaches, student athletes, and staff members at Lemoyne College. So every Wednesday at 9 a.m., a new episode. First and third Wednesdays, new episodes of AD and DT. Second and fourth Wednesdays, Dolphin Dive. Every Wednesday, Dolphin Time. And, of course, specials throughout. And Lemoyne Dolphins, you can go on-site on location and see Wake Up Call banners at their games, including inside of Ted Grant Court. So make sure you head there today. And, of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the archive of our shows with Lemoyne by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as subscribing to wakeupcalldt.com and bookmarking the Lemoyne tab at wakeupcalldt.com. You can get more information and see our Wake Up Call logo on the website of LemoyneDolphins.com as well. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also your proud multimedia marketing partner of the Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride all year long. And of course, every Friday, you can stay tuned to get your Marywood Pacer Pride exclusive episodes airing right here on Wake Up Call in the second hour of the show between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. Pacer Pride is here with you. You can get all of our Pacer Pride episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You can also go to wakeupcalldt.com and bookmark the Marywood tab, and you can get more information, including our logo, at marywoodpacers.com. With that being said, I implore you to be with us 24/7 on our social medias right here that are always underneath me during the show. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Of course, WakeUpCallDT.com, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. I hope you have a fantastic day. We will see you tomorrow from Cafe Cubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, with my guy Rob Drummond, talking about local recruiting, local talent, and Syracuse football moving forward. Rob and I with you at Cafe Cubal tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. Come out and see us at 343 Fayette Street at the location of Cafe Cubal in Manlius, New York. And, of course, we'll have the ingredients to success brought to you by Avicoli's as well. In the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best.